The story begins in high school, where many students are discussing manga. One of them says that the manga is so awesome, especially the part where the mage dies. The protagonist, Haruto, who is sitting behind the class topper, looks at him and thinks to himself that he should not have shouted that spoiler out loud. The class topper's name is Yohei Namba. A girl named Hino comes running to Yohei and asks him if he is reading it too. Yohei asks Hino when she is going to hang out with him. Hino tells him that Yohei is a basketball player and that the basketball club keeps him super busy. Yohei also agrees and says that he is a first-year prodigy after all. A girl named Mochijuki slowly walks to Haruto with a letter in her hand. She tells him to give that letter to his mother. Yohei looks at both of them and asks what their relationship is. Hino tells Yohei that Haruto, Hino, and Mochijuki are childhood friends. Yohei pats Haruto on the back and tells him that even dull guys like him also get their chance. The class rep tells Yohei to get back to his seat. Mochijuki gives Haruto a stare and walks back to her seat. A girl named Karen tells Haruto from behind that Haruto and Mochijuki are surely awkward with each other, even though they are childhood friends. Haruto looks at her, and she says that if she had a beautiful childhood friend like Mochijuki, she would probably be nervous. Haruto recalls how close he was to Mochijuki when they were kids. Suddenly, the entire class starts shaking. Haruto grabs onto his bench and asks Karen to grab onto something since it is an earthquake. Just then, Mochijuki falls on Haruto, but he catches her just in time. Mochijuki feels embarrassed and runs away. Haruto wonders if it was a bad experience for her. In the next instant, Haruto, along with his friends, suddenly gets teleported to a completely different space. He looks around and wonders where they are and why they are in a magic circle surrounded by many mages. A pretty lady standing in front of them tells them that this was not how it was supposed to go. Every boy in the class starts adoring her instantly. An old man walks to the lady and addresses her as princess. He tells her that she must explain the situation to the heroes. The princess agrees. She clears her throat and greets everyone. She introduces herself as Philia Elmont, the first princess of the kingdom of Elmond. This name is completely unfamiliar to the entire class. All of them realize that the world they are currently in is different from the one they came from. The princess tells them that, according to the legends, they have summoned them as heroes, and there is a sudden uproar among all the students. Many get excited while Manning gets terrified. Karen wonders out loud what kind of power Haruto has. She even says that she is so excited and everything feels so classic. Yohei gets frustrated and furiously says that they have been sprouting nonsense this whole time. One of his friends tells him to calm down and says that it is just like the manga he was reading earlier. Yohei replies that it was just a manga and nothing else. His friend tries to convince him by saying that the only way their entire class could be brought to that place is by actual magic. The students wonder if they can go back to their real world again. Karen says to Haruto that they should enjoy it, but everyone wants to go home. Princess Philia tells them that it is okay for them to feel confused, and that according to the legend, once they fulfill their mission, they will safely return to their original world. Yohei, again frustrated, shouts at the princess, asking her what kind of mission they are going to face. Princess Philia tells him that in their kingdom, heroes are summoned once every few centuries to face threats to the continent, but the nature of those threats varies each time. There are many legends which say that the heroes will definitely slay fearsome dragons and demon lords. Princess Philia further says that they have no idea what kind of threat they will have to face this time, and everyone realizes what that means. Yohei asks her if it means that they cannot go back until they figure it out. The princess bows to them and apologizes instantly. Just then, another man walks toward the crowd. The princess looks at him and calls him her big brother, Rogus Almond, the first prince of the kingdom. Philia tells Rogus that normally there should be only one hero, but this time there are many. Rogus looks at the students and asks Philia if she is worried about how they are going to host all of them, since there are 30 students. The class representative asks the prince if it means that they are more than the expected number, and that the kingdom might not be able to treat them properly. The class representative says that they were summoned without their consent, and now are being asked to complete some useless mission just to return home, without even knowing the details or being offered any kind of reward. He further says that if the kingdom cannot pay them, then they are not going to lift even a single finger. All the other students also agree with the class representative. The princess tells them that the royal family will provide them with the finest hospitality, and that once the nature of the threat is known, someone will definitely be able to take care of it. Yohei clenches his fist and fearlessly asks the princess what she means by someone. He says that the place does not even look that advanced, and that he is sure they do not even have baths in this world. One of the mages gets furious at Yohei and tells him not to mock them. The princess asks the mage not to treat them that way, since they are summoned heroes. Karen tells Haruto that Yohei cannot stay silent without starting trouble. Prince Rogus walks up to Yohei, grabs him by the chin, and tells him with a gentle smile not to worry. He says that he will make sure Yohei's demands are met, and that he will also handle the investigation of the threat. Yohei tells Rogus to let go of him. Prince Rogus replies to Yohei in a deadly and terrifying voice. Everyone in the class feels the pressure behind his words, and Yohei finally gives up and steps back. The princess then tells them that they do not know what people from another world truly want. The prince asks them if they can tell him what would satisfy them. Mochizuki instantly raises her hand. The prince looks at her and asks her to come to his room at night, making everyone feel extremely embarrassed. Mochizuki questions why it has to be his room, and the prince replies that it is an honor for most people to be invited there. Mochizuki agrees, saying that she has no other choice. The prince then tells them that summoning does not work unless both sides agree, and if all of them have been summoned, it means that someone among them must have truly wanted to change the world. He also says that there is no undoing it, and those who wished for it will act on their own, and in the end, everyone will get what they deserve. Mochizuki gets excited and asks if it means they can use magic. The prince agrees and produces a flame in his hand, then tells them with a confident smile that aside from magic, there are also powers known as skills. Prince Rogus further says that summoned heroes gain physical abilities far above the world's standard, and they are also granted special skills, just like magic, which makes it a good deal for anyone. Yohei gets excited and says that the prince should have told him that directly, then asks what kind of power he has. Everyone hopes to receive something strong, like enhanced physical abilities or similar powers. Karen nudges Haruto and asks if he is not at least a little excited about it. Haruto replies that he might be a little excited as well. Prince Rogus says that his sister knows far more about skills than he does, so he leaves the explanation to Philia. Philia steps forward and tells them that she will examine everyone's skills using her appraisal ability, which allows her to identify the skills of other people. She says that each of them possesses truly impressive abilities, especially Yohei, whose power is exceptional. Yohei asks what kind of power he has. The princess replies that since all of them come from a world without skills or magic, it would be best to show them directly. She asks Haruto to step forward and assist her, adding that she thought he would be the perfect example since his power is truly amazing. Yohei gets furious and says that she should not pick a nobody like him. The class representative holds Yohei by the shoulder and tells him to let it go. Yohei glares at Haruto with a deadly stare. Haruto then steps forward and walks toward the princess, standing beside her and asking what exactly he needs to do. The princess asks him to look at the caged Rigel. The creature appears extremely furious, frightening Haruto and the others. The princess explains that the creature is called a Rigel, and that although it is still young, it will become as dangerous as a dragon once it matures. Even at this size, it is ranked B, making it as strong as 100 regular soldiers. She then tells Haruto that his skill is called Tame. Suddenly, she hugs him from behind. Mochizuki feels slightly irritated by Philia's action and says that a monster of that rank cannot normally be tamed, but with Haruto's power, it might be possible. Philia pushes him closer to the cage and asks him to place his hand toward the Rigel. The Rigel starts roaring loudly. She reassures him that it will be fine as long as he says the word tame, which will activate his power. Haruto feels terrified as he approaches the Rigel, his body breaking into sweat, while Yohei impatiently urges him to hurry up. Haruto finally says the word tame, and a magic circle appears in front of him, followed by a bright light. The guards then open the cage, and the Rigel leaps toward Haruto, only to cling to him like a pet. The princess explains that with this ability, Haruto can command any beast, and with his strength as a hero, he should be able to tame any opponent. Karen walks up to Haruto and his pet Rigel. She tells him that the Rigel looks very cute, and that he has tamed it amazingly well. She asks if he has given it a name. Haruto replies that he has not, and wonders why he even needs to give it a name. Karen tells him that without a name, it will never truly become familiar to him. Haruto thinks for a moment and then says the name, Rai. Karen smiles and says that it is very simple. Haruto then tells Karen that she should also show her skill to the princess. Karen replies that she already has, and that her skill is mixing, which only makes her slightly better at combining things. She says with a gloomy expression that she wanted something flashier, and that her skill feels too plain. Haruto reassures her, saying that he is sure she can master it as well. Karen says that she will do her best. Haruto then wonders what kind of powers everyone else has received. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking, and when they look over, they see Yohei punching straight through a wall. The princess explains that his skill is body enhancement, a skill that multiplies his physical abilities and allows him to smash through walls. The magic of the royal court mages amazes everyone. Yohei then walks over and asks Haruto what kind of skill he got. Haruto asks Yohei to step back a little, and just then, a small piece of debris falls from above. Yohei is slightly startled, and Haruto tells him that his ability is future sight, which allows him to see a short moment into the future. He also mentions that his other skill is healing magic. The princess then says that Mochizuki's skill is magic enhancement, which amplifies magical powers several times over, putting it on the same level as Yohei's body enhancement. Karen tells Haruto that Mochizuki is his childhood friend. Haruto replies that it feels like a long time ago now, and that Mochizuki has been avoiding him lately. Just then, one of the mages places a target board in front of them. The princess tells everyone to try casting their magic at the target. Mochizuki says that she has never used magic before. The princess instructs her to imagine fire, then produces a flame in her own hand and tells everyone to channel that image into their mana. She points her hand at the target and fires a fireball, shocking everyone. She explains that this is the basic way to use magic. Karen whispers to Haruto that the princess seems rather bold and rough. Haruto replies that she is just open-minded and that most nobles are like that. Yohei gets excited and tries to create fire in his hand, but he loses control and the flames spiral out of control. Everyone shouts at him to put it out, but he cannot. Suddenly, a massive wave of water crashes into the flames and extinguishes them completely. The one who cast the water magic is none other than Prince Rogus. Prince Rogus tells everyone not to worry, saying that as long as he is present, he can handle things even if someone loses control. Yohei ends up completely soaked by Rogus' water magic and looks at the prince with a deeply frustrated expression. Then the prince tells Mochizuki to do whatever she wants, assuring her that if anything unusual happens, he will handle it. Yohei gets frustrated, grabs Mochizuki by the wrist, and tells her to hurry up and do it. However, something completely unexpected happens. Mochizuki is suddenly triggered. She collapses to the ground as multiple magic circles form around her. Prince Rogus immediately tells everyone to calm the hero as quickly as possible, and the mages surround Mochizuki, trying to suppress her magic with their own spells. Princess Philia desperately looks for someone whose ability could calm her down. Her eyes suddenly fall on Haruto, and she calls out his name, asking him to use Tame on Mochizuki. Everyone strongly opposes this idea, arguing that once it is used, Mochizuki would fall completely under Haruto's control, which would be no different from brainwashing. Yohei angrily says that the idea is completely insane. Princess Philia tells Haruto that if they do not act immediately, Mochizuki will be consumed by her own magic and will inevitably turn into a monster. Haruto feels deeply conflicted, wondering if turning a person into a familiar is truly acceptable. Karen pushes him forward and tells him that this is not the time to hesitate. Haruto realizes that he has no other choice and walks toward Mochizuki. He tells the princess that he will do it the same way he did with Rigel, and he also thanks the prince for holding things together. Haruto steps closer to Mochizuki and speaks the word Tame. Suddenly, he feels an overwhelming pressure, as if his body is about to be blown away. The princess holds him from behind and tells him to endure it. Mochizuki, barely conscious, looks at Haruto and weakly reaches out toward him. A small memory flashes through her mind of the moment she apologized to Haruto for a mistake. Haruto gently pats her head and tells her that it is okay and that he will definitely protect her. Haruto also recalls that promise, and he rushes forward, casting his magic, Tame. A blinding light fills the scene, so bright that everyone feels as though they might go blind. When the light finally fades, they find Mochizuki lying in Haruto's arms. Princess Philia walks up to Haruto and tells him that their plan was a success and that Mochizuki has been completely tamed. Everyone realizes that this means Tame can also work on humans. Several days had passed since they were summoned to another world. Life there was not particularly difficult. In the mornings, they studied the history of the kingdom and learned about the missions of past heroes. In the afternoons, they trained in light magic and combat, and everyone quickly acquired skills that even surpassed those of the kingdom's mages. Haruto, Karen, Mochizuki, and his pet Rigel stand beneath a tree, watching the other students train their magic. Karen tells Haruto that everyone is living in constant fear of being tamed by him. Haruto agrees, saying that they discovered Tame also works on people, He then asks Karen why she stays with him even though others are afraid. Karen replies that if she does not stay with him, she would have no one else to talk to. Haruto wonders if she is not afraid of being tamed as well, especially since Mochizuki has changed ever since it happened. Since being tamed, Mochizuki has not left his side, likely due to the effect of tame, and unlike before, she is no longer cautious around him. The boys are also disappointed with Haruto, as he ended up taming the most beautiful girl in the class. Philia has told him that they do not yet know how to cancel tame, but they are investigating it. Mochizuki looks at Haruto and thinks that this is her chance. She had never been able to interact honestly with him before, but now she can blame everything on tame. Karen suddenly panics and tells Haruto that she forgot her nukazuke back in the original world. She explains that it needs to be stirred every day or it will spoil. Nukazuke is a traditional Japanese food. Karen is the girl who is always beside Haruto, and Mochizuki has always been jealous of her. When Mochizuki actually spoke to Karen, she realized that Karen was genuinely kind, which made it impossible for her to let her guard down. Mochizuki thinks that Karen wears plain glasses to avoid standing out, but her face is actually quite pretty. She tells herself not to weaken, believing that her familiarity with Haruto is her special privilege, and she resolves to seize this opportunity to grow closer to him again. Suddenly, a stone lands just behind Haruto's head. Yohei walks up and apologizes, though it is obvious he does not mean it, claiming that the stone flew because of his magic. Someone standing behind Yohei tells him to move aside. Yohei looks back, confused, and at that moment, numerous fire arrows rain down on him. He desperately dodges each attack. Other students gather around, worried that someone might have been hurt, but Yohei assures them that he is fine. He then glares at Mochizuki, who calmly replies that her magic also slipped out of control. Karen tells Haruto not to fight over her. Haruto replies that it is not her fault, but his. At that moment, Prince Rogas approaches with a smile and says that it is not good for heroes to fight among themselves and that they should get along. He casually grabs two girls from their class as if they belong to him. The boys immediately grow furious, and Yohei gives the prince a murderous glare, cursing him under his breath. Rogas tells them that he was merely greeting the girls, and adds that if they have a problem with his attitude, he would gladly take them on in a fight. Haruto recalls that it would be impossible for anyone in their class to fight Rogas head-on, as some students had challenged him the previous day and were crushed instantly. Rogas then comments that they seem to be growing stronger every day and says that he is genuinely pleased by it, having already noticed Haruto's future sight and Yohei's body enhancement that allowed Yohei to dodge all the attacks. Prince Rogas also praises Mochizuki, noting that she has completely mastered her magic enhancement skill, which is clearly a result of tame. He explains that tame increases the abilities of both the tamer and the tamed. By taming the Rigel, both Haruto and the creature grew stronger, and by taming Mochizuki, the power began circulating among the three of them, further amplifying their abilities. Karen concludes that this means the more Haruto tames, the more powerful he becomes. Excited by the idea, she asks him if he can tame her as well. Haruto quickly tells her not to say something like that. Just then, Prince Rogas walks up to Mochizuki and asks her to come to his room, saying that he would like to greet her properly. Mochizuki immediately refuses, bluntly telling him that she has no interest in him or his room. The prince looks momentarily shocked, glances at Haruto, and then turns away, returning to his room while telling Mochizuki that she can come if she ever feels curious. Haruto tells Mochizuki that she did not need to reject him so harshly. Mochizuki asks him if he would have been fine with her going along with the prince. Haruto becomes visibly embarrassed. Later, in the classroom, Princess Philia begins explaining about dungeons. She tells them that it is time for practical experience, and that Prince Rogas has selected a dungeon with monsters suitable for testing their abilities, along with promising rewards. The students immediately grow excited upon hearing this. Mochizuki tells Haruto that if one has experience, clearing a dungeon should be easy. Haruto replies modestly that he is not as strong as she is. Yohei asks Princess Philia what exactly a dungeon is. Princess Philia begins the lecture by asking the same question, then explains that a dungeon is a general term for ruins filled with magic. Inside dungeons, there are valuable magical tools, dangerous traps, and monsters. She further explains that as one goes deeper, the concentration of magic increases, and so does the danger posed by the monsters. She adds that dungeon danger levels and capture difficulty are determined by the total magic content and are divided into 10 stages. She explains that difficulty 7 and above remain unexplored by humanity and are nearly immeasurable. She then informs them that the dungeon they will be entering has a capture difficulty of 7. The students are visibly shocked, pointing out that such a level is still unexplored territory and seems excessive for their first expedition. Princess Philia reassures them, explaining that they will only be exploring up to the 3rd floor, which has already been conquered and fully mapped, making it relatively safe. Yohei comments that it sounds boring. Princess Philia agrees that it might seem dull for heroes, but warns them that even letting their guard down for a moment could result in death. She cautions them that even mapped dungeons can still contain hidden traps. While pitfalls and arrow traps are manageable, there are also rare cases where one could be teleported to a mysterious space with no exit. She warns them not to touch anything carelessly. With a smile, she tells them to enjoy their first exploration, as they might discover valuable magic tools or treasures. Princess Philia announces that they will depart the following day and that the exploration will last all day, so they must prepare thoroughly. She adds that maps will be distributed and must be studied in advance. She then reveals the name of the dungeon, Royal Tomb. The next day, everyone gathers in front of the Royal Tomb. Princess Philia announces that the dungeon exploration will be conducted in groups of 3, instructing everyone to form teams. Both Karen and Mochizuki immediately cling to Haruto's arms. Karen tells him that if he abandons her, she will be left with the leftovers. Mochizuki adds that since Haruto has tamed her, it is only natural that she should go with him. Karen insists that teamwork is important and that they should all get along. Prince Rogus watches Haruto with visible frustration. The day before the dungeon exploration begins, the prince calls Yohei to his room late at night. He tells Yohei that Haruto is dangerous, a hero capable of taming humans. He explains that if this fact becomes widely known, it will cause countless unnecessary conflicts across the world. Yohei replies that he does not care and demands to know why he has been summoned at midnight. The prince tells him that although Yohei dislikes him, he also knows that Yohei dislikes Haruto as well. He explains that the reason the heroes have not been allowed to leave the royal palace is to keep Haruto's existence a secret. Then, with a calm smile, the prince tells Yohei to eliminate Haruto. Yohei asks if he is serious. The prince replies that Yohei is the only one among the heroes strong enough to do it, but since Mochizuki is always by Haruto's side, it will not be easy, which is why he is entrusting the task to him. The prince assures Yohei that he will lend him his personal guards, and that no one will be blamed for a single disappearance, since accidents are common in dungeons. The next day, during the dungeon exploration, Princess Philia warns everyone to be cautious of traps and monsters, and instructs them to report immediately if anyone is injured or goes missing. She also apologizes to Haruto for assigning him to the dangerous front position. Haruto replies that it is not her fault. Earlier, Yohei tells the princess that the front of the formation is the most dangerous place in a dungeon. She agrees, explaining that those at the front always encounter enemies first and become the rear guard during retreats. Yohei then insists that only the strongest should take the front position. The princess initially suggests placing the kingdom's strongest royal guards there, but Yohei recommends Haruto instead, adding that it is unpleasant for anyone to stand behind someone capable of taming humans. Because of this, Haruto, Mochizuki, and Karen are placed at the front. Haruto apologizes to Karen and Mochizuki for putting them in danger as well. Karen tells him that it is fine, since she has no one else to pair with anyway. Haruto also thanks Rai for carrying their bags. Just then, a massive swarm of bats rushes toward them from the front. Mochizuki instantly raises a firewall, incinerating the bats as if they are nothing. Haruto also proves himself as a hero, and the rest of the class handles the monsters without much difficulty. The dungeon exploration progresses smoothly until they finally reach the gate leading to the lower levels. Princess Philia warns them that the monsters beyond will be far stronger and tells everyone to take a break. One of the mages walks up to Yohei and hands him something. After traveling deep into the dungeon, everyone finally takes a break to rest. Haruto, Mochi, Zuki, and Karen sit down on the ground together. Haruto remarks that everyone looks completely exhausted, especially Karen, and Karen readily agrees with him. Haruto then asks Mochizuki if she is feeling all right. Mochizuki tells him to let her rest her head on his lap since she is tired, causing both Haruto and Karen to freeze in shock at her words. Haruto hurriedly suggests that she and Karen should instead use Rai as a pillow. Karen immediately protests, saying that Rai belongs to her alone. Realizing that he has no other choice, Haruto gives in. Mochizuki then tries to place her head on his lap anyway, but suddenly stops and pulls back, saying that she was only joking and that even though she is tamed, she still has her boundary. Haruto agrees, adding that there are many people watching. Karen teasingly asks him if that means he would be fine with it if no one were watching. Karen then asks Haruto if he is not going to tame any monsters. Haruto asks her if he even can. Karen tells him that, of course he can. Haruto replies that if he keeps increasing their numbers randomly, he would have to feed them as well. Meanwhile, Mochizuki wonders to herself why she is acting this way. Haruto notices and asks her if she is okay. Mochizuki looks away and tells him that she is fine, but Haruto points out that she looks pale. He mentions that she was once locked in a storage room and wonders if she still has trouble with dark or closed spaces. Mochizuki feels happy that Haruto still remembers something like that. Just then, Karen excitedly tells them that she found something good. She pulls out a potion from her bag and explains that it restores both mind and body and reduces physical damage. Haruto and Mochizuki both give her suspicious looks. Karen asks why they are staring at her like that, and Haruto replies that she has already given him plenty of strange potions before. Princess Philia walks over and appraises the potion, assuring them that it works exactly as Karen described. Another mage calls Princess Philia away for work. Karen looks after her and comments that she feels jealous of the princess's appraisal skill. She then declares that since the potion has been approved, they should all drink it. The three of them drink together and immediately feel refreshed and energized. Haruto and Mochizuki both compliment Karen. Meanwhile, a mage approaches Yohei and quietly tells him to take out the item the prince gave him. Yohei pulls out something shaped like a small ball. The mage casts a spell on it, causing the ball to glow brightly. Other mages nearby shout in alarm, realizing that it is a teleportation trap. Everyone remembers the princess mentioning such traps earlier, explaining that whoever activates one will be sent to an unknown space. Yohei panics and asks the mage what he should do. The mage tells him to calm down and throw it away before it fully activates. Yohei immediately understands and hurls the ball toward Haruto. Haruto catches it instinctively, but the teleportation trap activates at once. Something shoots out of the ball and pierces Haruto's hand, preventing him from throwing it away. Haruto shouts that he cannot let go and tells Karen and Mochizuki to get back. Instead, Karen, Mochizuki, and Rai cling tightly to him. Karen looks at Haruto and tells him that it is already too late. Mochizuki says that she is not letting him go alone, since he was the one who tamed her. Numerous hands emerge from the ball and grab hold of Haruto, Karen, Mochizuki, and Rai. In the next instant, all four of them vanish from the spot, teleported to an unknown place, with no one knowing where they have been sent. Haruto opens his eyes and finds himself in a completely unfamiliar place, with Mochizuki lying on top of him and Karen sitting beside him. He sits up and looks around, wondering where they are, but he cannot find any exit. Haruto says that the magical energy in the air feels similar to that of the royal tomb, so there is a chance that they were sent to a lower level of the dungeon. Karen says she is relieved, as she thought they had been thrown into some mysterious dimension, then realizes that her glasses were left behind on the upper level. Haruto stares at her for a moment without reacting, and when Karen asks why, he tells her that her glasses are fake anyway and that she does not really need them, surprising her and making her ask how he noticed. Mochizuki wakes up at that moment and greets Haruto with a cheerful good morning, but immediately turns away in embarrassment after realizing the situation. Haruto tells her that she looks fine, probably thanks to Karen's potion, and that none of them suffered serious injuries. All three of them stand up, and Karen asks where they might be. Haruto tells Mochizuki that they are likely on a lower floor of the royal tomb, and if it is not too deep, someone may eventually come to rescue them, though he doubts anyone is really coming. When Mochizuki asks what he means, Haruto explains that he noticed Namba and a royal guard smiling when they were teleported, suggesting that the teleportation trap was staged to get rid of him. Karen questions why that would happen when the guards answer to Prince Rogas, and Haruto replies that the prince himself must be involved. Mochizuki feels guilty and asks if it is because she rejected the prince, but Haruto denies it firmly, telling her that it is not her fault and that people see him as a threat because of his skill. Mochizuki notices scratches on Haruto's hand and quietly applies a bandage, after which Karen asks what they should do next, pointing out that even if they escape, they cannot return to the castle if the prince is against them. Haruto suggests faking his death so Karen and Mochizuki can return safely, but both of them immediately reject the idea. He then proposes fleeing to another country and starting over, but both girls insist on going with him. Mochizuki saying she will follow him wherever he goes, and Karen saying she would rather die with him than be left alone, prompting Haruto to tell them not to say such things. Karen says their first priority is getting out of the place, but Mochizuki points out that there is no visible exit, while Haruto reassures them that at least they still have food. Suddenly, The wall behind Haruto cracks, and a massive wolf bursts out. Mochizuki prepares to attack it with magic, but Haruto stops her, saying he wants to try something, and walks toward the monster. The wolf leaps at him, but Haruto activates his tame magic, causing it to calm down and start licking him like a pet. Mochizuki reacts in amazement, and Haruto says it may be due to accumulated power and the potion, while Karen adds that she can feel everyone's strength increasing. She remarks that the wolf feels as strong as Mochizuki, who may be the strongest hero in the kingdom, aside from Prince Rogus, making it a huge advantage for them, then half-jokingly says she wishes she could be tamed too. Mochizuki finally asks Haruto what he is going to name the wolf. Karen says that the big fluffy wolf reminds her of the golden retrievers she used to have. Haruto decides to name it Ratu. He then asks Ratu if he can widen the hole a bit so they can pass through more easily, but Ratu makes a gloomy face, making Haruto realize that it was too much to ask. He looks inside the hole and says that they might be able to fit through it as it is. Just then, Ratu starts howling and several wolves appear, and Haruto immediately realizes that Ratu is their alpha. Mochizuki asks him if he plans to tame all of them. Haruto raises his hand and says that he will try, then activates Tame. A huge magic circle forms around the wolves, and all of them are tamed by Haruto. He feels slightly weak afterward, and Karen asks if he is all right. Haruto replies that he is fine, and that he simply used too much mana, then tells Mochizuki that her power has increased as well. Mochizuki creates a crystal crown with her magic and confirms that it has become easier to control her power. Haruto then says that he thinks he may have gained new skills. When Mochizuki asks what he means, he explains that his sense of smell has become sharper and that he can now see through walls, likely abilities reflected from Ratu. He adds that this will make dungeon exploration much easier. Mochizuki covers Karen with her cloak and tells Haruto not to peek, explaining that while she is fine with enhanced senses, he should not use them to see through their clothes. Haruto clarifies that it works more like thermal vision and that he can turn it on and off at will. Karen says that she does not mind. She then remarks that gaining power and skills like this feels like a complete growth cheat, noting that since the world does not seem to have levels or experience points, only Haruto and his familiars will continue to grow stronger. Karen jokingly wonders if familiars can have children and multiply their strength, which makes Mochizuki feel embarrassed. Haruto uses his ability to locate the thinnest part of the wall and tells them they may be able to break through and advance. Mochizuki asks whether they should head back toward the entrance or go deeper and attempt to conquer the dungeon. Karen wonders if there might be a mechanism connecting the deeper floors to the exit. Haruto agrees but points out that this dungeon is largely unexplored, meaning they do not know what dangers lie ahead, and since powerful monsters like Ratu live here, they must already be deep inside. Karen says that while heading toward the boss might be faster distance-wise, returning to the entrance would be safer, but Haruto immediately decides that they will clear the dungeon. When Karen asks why, he explains that he can no longer rely on the kingdom and that they will need the treasures found inside the dungeon. He asks Karen, Mochizuki, Rai, and Ratu if they are willing to come with him despite the danger. Mochizuki reminds him that he has already tamed her, while Karen says she would be too lonely otherwise and will follow him to the end. Haruto smiles, and all three of them mount the monster wolves as he declares that they are going to conquer the dungeon. Inside the royal palace, the prince praises Yohei for his great work. Yohei suddenly stands up and asks the prince if he has any idea what kind of situation he is in, saying that ever since Haruto and the others disappeared, everyone has been looking at him like he is some kind of murderer. Akimoto Kakeru, who is sitting next to Yohei, finally realizes that everything that happened on the day of the dungeon exploration had been planned in advance. He asks the prince about it, and the prince replies that Akimoto is the one shaping the atmosphere of the class, and should therefore support Yohei, the hero who gave them freedom. Akimoto asks what the prince means by freedom, and the prince explains that they could not allow a dangerous hero who could tame people at will to roam freely. Akimoto then asks if they had been imprisoned because of Haruto, and the prince agrees, saying that they had been confined to the royal palace. Akimoto asks if that means they will now be allowed to leave, and also whether Mochi, Zuki, and Karen were part of the plan as well. The prince replies that it no longer matters, explaining that Mochizuki was too deeply affected by the taming and that Karen did not possess any particularly valuable skill. Akimoto tells him that Princess Philia was extremely upset by the disappearance of those three, but the prince responds that Philia is kind-hearted and that the kingdom does not need heroes who are not useful. He adds that, on top of everything, they are all foreigners. Akimoto understands what the prince is implying. If they do not want to end up like Haruto, they must prove their worth. Akimoto then asks whether Haruto and the others are truly dead, since all they saw was them vanishing. The prince replies confidently that survival is impossible. He explains that the magic tool used on them measures the target's strength and teleports them to a dungeon floor that cannot be conquered, and that they were likely sent to the 20th floor. The royal tomb has a total of 25 floors, and while Rigel-level monsters appear on the 7th floor, monster strength increases by 30% with each floor below that. On the 20th floor, monsters would be more than 30 times stronger than Rigel, and countless such monsters exist there, making survival impossible. Akimoto points out that Haruto possesses the tame skill and could potentially tame even the strongest monsters. The prince laughs and tells them not to worry, saying that tame does not work when the power gap is too large. Akimoto adjusts his glasses and concludes that there is nothing for them to worry about. Inside the dungeon, Haruto has tamed many monsters. Karen looks at them and comments that he has gained a lot more familiars. Haruto tells her that they have already passed 3 more floors. Mochizuki notices his dissatisfied expression and asks what is wrong. Haruto explains that in terms of raw power, the monsters they encountered were stronger than them before entering the dungeon, but after being tamed, Rai, Ratu, and Mochizuki have become even stronger in strange ways. Mochizuki suggests that the boost may not be equal for everyone. Karen says it might depend on closeness, pointing out that Haruto gave names to Rai and Ratu but was too busy to name the others, which may be why they are not as strongly enhanced. That would mean Mochizuki received the greatest power boost. Mochizuki becomes embarrassed and insists that she has not gotten stronger at all, saying that Haruto is far stronger than her. Karen agrees, saying that it is because Haruto is a tamer. Haruto responds that all of them are getting stronger, and that it is a good thing. Soon they arrive at a massive gate, and Haruto says that this is where things truly become serious. Karen wonders if it is the boss chamber. Mochizuki recalls that the documents mentioned a boss before the bottom floor, a necessary obstacle to clear the dungeon, and adds that she can feel an overwhelming power coming from inside. She suggests leaving behind those whose strength is too low. Haruto agrees, saying they want to avoid unnecessary casualties. In the end, Karen is assigned to stay behind and babysit the other monsters, while Haruto, Mochizuki, Rai, and Ratu head toward the boss chamber. Karen feels dissatisfied with being left behind and says she wants to help as well. She pulls out a potion she created using rare materials found along the way and explains that it is a mixing potion that boosts stamina, endurance, mental stability, muscle strength, magic power, and more, insisting that fighting is not the only way to be useful. Haruto thanks her, and they drink the potion before entering the boss chamber. Mochizuki grimaces and says it tastes awful, but admits that it will definitely help. Haruto mounts Rai while Mochizuki rides Ratu, and together they enter the boss chamber, only for the scenery to change completely, leaving them confused. At that moment, the ground beneath them shatters as a massive dragon bursts forth. Haruto tries to use Tame on the dragon, but with a single roar, the dragon shatters the magic circle and sends Haruto flying backward. All 4 of them take cover behind a rock. Mochizuki says that the dragon is incredibly strong, and Haruto wonders if it is because of the dragon's overwhelming power that Tame did not work. Haruto says that he will try again, and asks everyone to buy him some time. Mochizuki reminds him that Tame failed just moments ago, but after thinking for a moment, Haruto says that there is still a way. He looks at Mochizuki and begs her to hold the dragon back for a while. Mochizuki agrees, and together with Rigel and Ratu, she circles around the dragon and attacks it with her magic. As she fights, she realizes that this is the first time Haruto has relied on her. When they were children, she always relied on him, and as they grew older, she became more capable than Haruto. But the distance between them also grew, which is why she always felt frustrated. She pushes her magic to its limits, and countless fiery scales rain down on the dragon. Haruto charges toward the dragon again and activates Tame once more, but this time he is pulled into a void-like space of nothingness. A deep voice echoes behind him, saying that Tame is a contract, and if a beast cannot be forced into becoming a familiar, then it must be done through negotiation. Haruto turns around and finds the dragon standing behind him. He smiles and agrees, saying that he sensed it during the first attempt. The dragon asks Haruto if he wants him to become a familiar in exchange for granting a wish, adding that Haruto's talent is remarkable and that this, too, must be fate. The dragon suddenly disappears. Haruto then tells Mochizuki and the others to come out, saying that the battle is over. Mochizuki asks what he means, and at that moment, a massive gate appears before them. They pass through it together with Karen. Karen asks if this is the deepest level of the dungeon and wonders if there is any treasure. Her eyes then fall upon a throne, where the dragon is seated. The dragon says that they have finally arrived. Mochizuki asks Haruto if it is the same dragon they were fighting, and Haruto replies that this is its true form. The dragon introduces himself as Mephiles, the holy dragon. Karen recalls hearing that name during a lecture and says that it sounds like the name of the dragon hero who once prevented a calamity, wondering why such an important figure would be here. Mephiles grows angry and calls them foolish, explaining that he was sealed in this land by a hero of the past, which also weakened his power. Haruto asks why a hero would seal a heroic dragon, since heroes are meant to fight calamities. Mephiles replies that countless heroes have been summoned for that purpose, yet calamities have only occurred 3 times in the last 1,000 years. Mochizuki points out that countless heroes were summoned anyway. Mephiles continues, saying that he does not know the true reason, but the people of this world perform unnecessary summonings, inventing false calamities and forcing heroes to fight or seal enemies while believing they are saving the world. Mochizuki asks if Mephiles himself is one of those victims. Karen says that they were told heroes could return to their original world by defeating a calamity, and if what Mephiles says is true, then there may be no way for them to return home. Haruto says that he needs more power, because the prince who lied about the calamity may be their true enemy, and if that is the case, they will need enough strength to stand against him. He looks at Mephiles and says that this is why he wants to tame him. Mochizuki asks Haruto if he is sure, since he struggled even against the dragon's weakened form. The dragon replies that if Haruto can undo his seal, then he will definitely become his familiar. Karen asks Haruto if he knows how to undo the seal. Haruto says that he does not know, but there is a possibility that Mephiles could regain enough power to break the seal by being strengthened through tame. Mephiles then asks Haruto to tame him. Haruto turns toward Mephiles, raises his hand, and says the word, tame. Everything instantly goes blank. Haruto opens his eyes later and realizes that he lost consciousness. Mochizuki immediately asks if he is all right. Mephiles explains that his power was too immense, causing Haruto to knock himself out. But thanks to that, he must have gained tremendous power. Haruto agrees, saying that he can feel incredible strength within himself. Mephiles then adds that although Haruto successfully tamed him, the power was still not enough to break the seal. Haruto apologizes, but Mephiles tells him that it is fine, since there is still hope, explaining that as Haruto grows stronger, his power will also increase. Mephiles then tells them to leave the place and head toward a dungeon called Paradise. Confused, they ask what Paradise is, and Mephiles explains that it is a dungeon filled with extremely powerful monsters and will be a rich source of strength for them. He adds that Paradise has a difficulty level of 9 because a calamity from 200 years ago is sealed deep within it, terrifying everyone. Mephiles recalls that humans rank dungeons on a scale of 10, and for comparison, without even fighting seriously, the dungeon they are currently in would rank around 6, or possibly 8. Karen asks Haruto if it would not be better to avoid going there or to stop Mephiles, but Mephiles urges them to hurry, explaining that the seal on the calamity is already weakening, and if it breaks, the continent will once again face destruction. Haruto asks why the seal is failing, and Mephiles explains that magic tools were placed to attract monsters near the seal so their magic could drain its power. But instead, the calamity began absorbing power from the monsters and growing stronger, meaning the seal will soon break. Haruto asks if it would not be better to remove those magic tools, and Mephiles tells him to do so if he wishes, adding that while retrieving them, Haruto should tame the gathered monsters to gain power. Accomplishing 2 goals at once, Haruto agrees, though it still sounds extremely difficult. Mephiles reassures him, saying that if he were in his prime, the task would not be so hard. He then looks at their equipment and remarks that it is unreliable, before lending them new gear. After they put it on, Mephiles tells them to move forward and face what lies ahead. In another dungeon, Yohei and the other heroes slay countless monsters. Yohei drives his massive sword straight through a monster and scoffs that they are far too weak for him. Akimoto walks up to Yohei and suggests taking a short break since everyone is exhausted, but Yohei replies that he does not care about the others and that it is time for him to conquer the dungeon. Princess Philia then tells Akimoto and Yohei that there is discussion about selecting certain heroes, including Yohei, to handle higher-level threats. While attacking the ceiling of the dungeon, Akimoto asks the princess if it is truly safe, since they are currently training in a level 3 dungeon and are suddenly being sent into a dungeon with a difficulty level of 5. Yohei pats Akimoto on the back and asks if he is scared. Princess Philia assures them that the kingdom will provide full support and explains that it is time to publicize the heroes' strength beyond their borders, saying that clearing a high-difficulty, uncharted dungeon is the perfect way to spread their fame across the continent. Akimoto understands her reasoning. Suddenly, a monster leaps at Akimoto from behind, but debris from the ceiling crashes down and kills it instantly. Princess Philia witnesses this and realizes that this is why Akimoto has been deliberately attacking the ceiling. She also realizes that Yohei's strength continues to grow each day, and that Akimoto's foresight ability has also improved over time, making the two of them exceptionally powerful together. Yohei confidently tells the princess to leave everything to them, declaring that even if a calamity is lurking in the dungeon, they will crush it without fail. Meanwhile, Haruto, Mochizuki, and Karen finally arrive at the town of Kusk, located at the base of the Paradise Dungeon. Karen looks around and comments that the town is surprisingly lively and filled with adventurers hoping to challenge the dungeon. Mochizuki says that the dungeon rewards were incredibly impressive, and Karen adds that she can now understand why people would risk their lives for them. Haruto explains that Paradise is structured so that the deeper one goes toward the demon on the final floor, the stronger the monsters become, making it an ideal place to test their strength. Mochizuki reminds them that their goal is to reach the final floor and recover the magic tool that is weakening the demon's seal, and that they have nothing to worry about since they have also received new equipment. Just then, a cheerful young woman approaches them and asks if they are adventurers. She asks whether they already have a place to stay and mentions that she knows a good inn called Soyut. Haruto asks if she works there, and the woman introduces herself as Lisa. She suddenly grabs Haruto by the arm and says that she will even provide a little extra service, causing Mochizuki to freeze in embarrassment. Lisa quickly clarifies that she simply meant she would include an extra dish with dinner. With no better option, the three of them follow her. Mochizuki notices Karen deep in thought and asks if something is wrong. Karen replies that it seems Mochizuki is very sensitive when it comes to embarrassing situations, and Mochizuki hurriedly insists that it is all a misunderstanding. They reach the inn, and the receptionist shows them to their room, apologizing that only one room is available since everything else is fully booked. She adds that because they are in the same party, sharing should not be a problem. Haruto and Mochizuki feel embarrassed upon hearing this, and Mochizuki immediately refuses to share a bed and walks away. They then head to the dining room, where they are served delicious dishes. After the first bite, tears fill their eyes, surprising the waiters, and Haruto explains that the food is simply too good, especially since he has been surviving on tasteless, non-spoiling bread for a long time. Lisa wonders aloud if being an adventurer is really that difficult, while Karen praises the food and the inn itself. Lisa thanks them, saying the town is thriving, especially with heroes passing through. Hearing the word heroes makes Haruto, Karen, and Mochizuki uneasy. Haruto asks what she means, and the receptionist explains that heroes, along with some royals, are coming to town and that everyone is eager to catch a glimpse of them. She adds that the heroes reportedly cleared an uncharted shadow dungeon and may enter Paradise next. After dinner, the three of them sit in their room, wondering what to do. Haruto suggests that since they still have a few days before the heroes arrive, they should enter the dungeon and complete their mission. Mochizuki agrees, saying Haruto needs to tame monsters in Paradise to grow stronger, and that they still need to retrieve the magic tool weakening the demon's seal. Karen asks if they cannot simply leave it to the heroes, but Haruto replies that they do not know whether the royals are even aware of the magic tool. Mochizuki adds that the townspeople do not know a demon is sealed inside Paradise, and that some heroes might recklessly provoke it. Karen points out that Paradise has a difficulty level of 9, and that reaching the deepest floor would be nearly impossible. Their attention then turns to the two beds, and Karen asks if they should not think about sleeping. Mochizuki asks how Rai and the other beasts are doing, and Haruto concentrates before saying they are waiting safely in a nearby forest, explaining that the beasts have slept in far more dangerous dungeons before. Karen asks how he knows, and Haruto replies that he can sense their safety through Tame. Karen suddenly points out their main problem. Haruto suggests that the girls use the beds while he sleeps on the floor, but both immediately refuse. Karen insists that Haruto is the core of the party and needs proper rest, and Mochizuki agrees. Haruto thinks he has slept in far worse conditions and that the floor is no issue, but he cannot win against them. Karen then offers to sleep on the floor herself, saying she usually rests during battles anyway, but Mochizuki refuses, claiming she should take the floor since she is physically stronger. Karen counters that Mochizuki should sleep in the bed because she is tamed by Haruto, and Mochizuki agrees, adding that she needs rest to handle delicate work like potion mixing. They continue arguing until they finally decide to push the beds together so all three can fit. In the end, they push the beds close and lie down together. Haruto, stuck between Mochizuki and Karen, asks if they can really sleep like this. Mochizuki tells him to shut up and focus on sleeping, while Karen asks if he can hear her heartbeat. All three of them feel extremely embarrassed and nervous. Mochizuki gently tugs on Haruto's shirt, telling him not to drift too far toward Karen, while Karen says she does not mind since she is smaller and it would not bother her. Mochizuki snaps back and tells Haruto to move closer to her, while Karen tells him to move toward her instead. They argue back and forth until they finally decide to settle it with rock, paper, scissors, with the loser having to sleep in the middle. The next morning, they head into the forest to search for the beasts that Haruto had already tamed. As they walk deeper among the trees, Karen begins to worry and asks whether Rai and the others are safe. Haruto answers calmly that there is no need to worry, because he has already called them and they should arrive soon. Karen looks confused and asks what he means by calling them. Haruto explains that when he focuses and calls out to them in his mind, his tamed beasts can sense it and respond, even if they are far away. Hearing this, Karen asks if that means he can also hear the thoughts of his familiars. This question makes Mochizuki feel uncomfortable, but Haruto quickly replies that he cannot hear their thoughts at all. Karen feels slightly relieved after hearing this answer. Before they can speak further, all of Haruto's tamed monsters begin to arrive one by one, with Rai jumping onto Haruto happily as soon as he appears. At the same time, many other monsters from the forest start gathering around them as well. Haruto quickly realizes that these monsters are not hostile and are actually hoping to be strengthened by being tamed. Karen hesitates and asks whether the monsters are truly fine with Haruto becoming their master. Haruto explains that this forest area attracts many adventurers who come to search for herbs, so the monsters want protection for their own safety. Mochizuki then urges Haruto to act quickly, warning him that if such a large group of monsters gathers, the nearby town will surely send a subjugation squad. Haruto agrees without hesitation and casts Tame on all the surrounding monsters at once. After that, he tells them to leave and return to their territories. Obeying his words, the monsters quietly disperse and vanish back into the forest. However, one small monster remains behind, hovering quietly near Haruto, a tiny dragon with soft scales and small wings. Karen stares at it in surprise and says that she never imagined a dragon could be so small. Haruto reaches out and tries to use Tame on it like he did with the others, but he quickly feels strong resistance. He realizes that taming this creature is much harder than before. He explains that even though the dragon is small, it still has the nature of a dragon, and among all the monsters he tamed that day, it has the greatest potential. Karen suggests that if it is going to stay with him, he should give it a name. Haruto thinks for a moment, then agrees and names the little dragon Lulu. Upon hearing its name, Lulu bows politely to Haruto, as if accepting him as its master. Suddenly, Lulu grabs onto Haruto's cloak and lifts him into the air without warning. Haruto panics and tells Lulu to put him down immediately, warning that flying like this is dangerous. However, as he looks down, he ends up seeing the entire town spread out beneath him. He cannot help but remark that the view is amazing. At that moment, a sharp pain runs through his body, as if something invisible is slicing through him. He quickly turns his head and feels a strong presence behind him. Haruto senses paradise in the distance and realizes that what he felt was the killing intent of the demon sealed there. After Lulu finally puts him down, Haruto regains his composure, and the group decides that they should head to the guild without delay. As they walk toward the guild's main gate, Mochizuki explains that anyone who wishes to enter a dungeon must first register as an adventurer. Karen adds that heroes officially sent by the kingdom do not need to register, then wonders aloud whether the guild might report their presence to the kingdom. Haruto reassures them, saying that the guild operates independently and does not take direct orders from the kingdom, so there should be no problem. Karen agrees and points out that detailed information about the heroes has not been made public anyway. Haruto reflects that attending the guild lecture earlier was a good choice, since otherwise they might have entered the dungeon without proper registration. Finally, he urges everyone to hurry, reminding them that the demon seal could break at any moment, and they cannot afford to waste time. After heading into the guild, they finally complete all the paperwork. The guild receptionist tells them that all three of them are officially registered as adventurers and hands over their guild cards. Karen says that it was pretty easy, since all they did was fill out some paperwork and she thought there would be some kind of test. The young receptionist tells them that there is really no need for that, but since they are heading into paradise, they must be careful, as lately high-level monsters have been appearing even in the early stages. Mochizuki whispers to Haruto that he was right, and that they should probably hurry and recover the magic tool as soon as possible. The receptionist then tells them that if they want more details about Paradise, they should ask an informant. They head to an informant, who demands 3 copper coins for the information. Haruto hands him 3 copper coins, and the informant asks what they want, a map of Paradise or information on the monster. Haruto takes out a gold coin and tells him that they want information about the deeper areas and that he can even pay a bit more. The informant tells him to stop and not flash gold coins so carelessly, then says that they do not look like average adventurers. He apologizes and tells them that he does not have any information on the deeper areas, since no one has made it that far. He adds that if they manage to reach the deeper areas, they can sell the information to him and he will pay them good money for it. In the end, they do not get any useful information about the deeper areas of Paradise. Haruto tells them that at least they got a map of the cleared areas. Karen asks if they are heading straight into Paradise. Haruto replies that after all the mass taming that morning, his mana is pretty drained, so he wants to be in top shape when they head inside. He tells them that they should enter the next day. Karen recommends that they explore the town a bit, saying with a smile that they are in another world, so they should make some fun memories while they are there. Haruto and Mochizuki exchange glances and then agree. They roam around the entire town, trying many new things and eating many unique dishes. In the evening, while walking back to their inn, Karen tells them that the town is very prosperous and that once they get back to the inn, she will make some quality potions. Mochizuki asks Karen if they will taste better too. Karen replies that if Haruto keeps taming like that, then they might taste better. Just then, their eyes fall on a hot spring, and all 3 of them decide to head inside. Karen and Mochizuki head to the women's section, with Karen saying that it is her first time in an open-air bath and Mochizuki agreeing that it is the same for her. Meanwhile, in the men's section, Haruto is surrounded by other men who keep asking him if he is new or alone, making Haruto feel extremely embarrassed. Both Karen and Mochizuki change their clothes and enter the hot spring. Karen says that she never thought she would get to enjoy a hot spring in this world. Mochizuki agrees and says that it has been a while since she had soaked in a bath. While relaxing in the hot spring, Mochizuki's eyes fall on Karen's chest. She tells her that it is really huge. Karen feels so embarrassed and tries to cover it as much as she can. Mochizuki also says that in the original world, Karen was binding them with a cloth. Karen has no other choice but to accept it. She says that in the original world, she used to cosplay, and even though she hates to say it, she was a bit famous in that community, and the bandages and glasses were kind of a way for her to prevent being recognized. Karen then says that she feels embarrassed to talk about it like this. Mochizuki tells her that it is not like that at all, and that instead, it is amazing. Karen asks her if she really means it, and Mochizuki agrees and says that she respects Karen for doing something that could make her famous. Karen tells Mochizuki that it is really surprising to see Mochizuki so positive about things like that. Mochizuki replies that it was a bit surprising for her too that Karen was doing cosplay. Then Karen tells Mochizuki that she is quite dependent on Haruto, and Mochizuki instantly feels embarrassed. Karen assures her that she does not mean it in a weird way, and says that their journey was so tough, but still, Haruto made quick decisions, and Karen realized that Haruto is someone she can rely on. Mochizuki agrees with a smile and says that Haruto has always been like that. She also says that Haruto is good with kids, and they really look up to him, and that he even helped the kids look for the owner of a lost cat they found. Then Karen tells Mochizuki that Haruto might be fond of Mochizuki, but still, he likes younger girls, and he might end up with a young girl. Mochizuki feels a bit frustrated and embarrassed. She gets up and asks Karen what she is talking about. Karen tells her that Haruto has gained a lot of confidence, and even while stopping at stores, clerks were hitting on him. But since Haruto is so dense, he did not notice anything. Mochizuki agrees with Karen and says that Haruto is dense, and even if he became popular, there is no way he would get involved with anyone. Karen also agrees with Mochizuki and says that a temporary romance is impossible with him. Mochizuki grabs Karen by her shoulder and asks her what she is talking about. Karen says that Mochizuki cannot hide her feelings and that it is so obvious. Mochizuki, feeling embarrassed, asks Karen what she thinks of Haruto. Karen replies that they are nothing but friends. Mochizuki asks Karen to reply that quietly, looking into her eyes. Karen tells her that Haruto once told her that she took off her glasses when she went without them. Mochizuki says that Haruto is the worst, since he does not give much reaction to a girl who changed her image. She also says that there is no way a guy like Haruto could be popular. In the men's bathing section, the other men bid Haruto farewell after their bath. In the royal palace, the king of the Elmund kingdom congratulates Prince Rogus for conquering the Shadow Dungeon. Prince Rogus bows deeply before the throne and replies that the victory was achieved through the combined efforts of the heroes, not his own strength alone. He adds that their abilities already place them among the highest-ranked warriors on the continent. Rogus further states that the heroes of the Shadow Raid team, Yohei, Kakeru, and Hino, deserve formal recognition and appropriate rewards for their service. The king responds cautiously, saying that keeping powerful heroes without fully revealing the nature of the threat could invite criticism from other nations. He warns that such actions may be interpreted as an attempt to secretly build military power. Rogus answers that these concerns have already been examined and accounted for through careful investigation and planning. The king then asks directly about the calamity. Rogus explains that it is Demon Ogre, an ancient disaster sealed away 200 years ago. He reports that the seal has begun to weaken and shows clear signs of unraveling. Shock spreads through the chamber, as the nobles cannot believe that a seal meant to last centuries has degraded so quickly. The king remarks that the location of Demon Ogre should be unknown, since the heroes who sealed it perished in battle. Rogus calmly replies that recent discoveries have provided them with a reliable lead. The king urges Rogus to proceed carefully, since this calamity is unlike any faced before, and that Rogus has always been prone to rushing ahead. Rogus bows again and agrees aloud, while inwardly dismissing the king as an irritating old man. Prince Rogus then orders his royal guard to prepare their forces and move to subjugate the Demon Ogre at once. The king suddenly stops Rogus and asks what he means by subjugating it, saying that their duty is only to reinforce the ancient seal and prevent the calamity from awakening. Rogus replies that they cannot summon heroes so frequently, and that this is exactly why they must strike now while they still possess enough strength, since resealing the calamity is impossible in the first place. The king asks him to explain what he means by that. Rogus calmly answers that to reseal the Demon Ogre, they would require the full power of a holy attribute hero. The king then asks Rogus if Hino does possess healing powers. Rogus responds that she is not in a condition where she can properly use her power. The king asks why this is so. Princess Philia steps forward and explains that the Shadow Raid team originally consisted of 80 members, including heroes and elite soldiers from the castle, but only 55 returned alive from the last dungeon. Because Hino holds healing abilities, she blamed herself for the deaths of those who did not return. This guilt weighed heavily on her heart and weakened her both mentally and physically. The king lets out a tired sigh and remarks that heroes are far too delicate in spirit. At that moment, another man enters the assembly hall and states that the heroes came from a peaceful world and that such sensitivity may not necessarily be a weakness. Everyone turns in surprise and sees that it is Prince Isekai'd. The king asks if Isekai'd is feeling well, and Isekai'd replies that he is fine, adding that he felt it was necessary to attend the meeting. The king then asks for Isekai'd's opinion on the Demon Ogre. Isekai'd answers that he believes reinforcing the seal alone is the correct course of action. Rogus questions him on this decision. Isekai'd then reveals that the Demon Ogre is sealed in paradise itself. The room falls silent in shock, as paradise lies dangerously close to the capital. Rogus asks Isekai'd how he knows the location of the calamity. Isekai'd replies that Rogus has been occupied with politics and state matters lately, so he decided to gather information on the Demon Ogre himself. He adds that he understands how deeply Rogus admired the former hero Lèwḍ, but says that the heroes of the present era are not the same as Lèwḍ. The king comments that it has already been 50 years since Lèwḍ's death, recalling how Lèwḍ wiped out the demon race, destroyed the kin of the Demon Ogre, and defeated the evil dragon. Isekai'd agrees with the king and says that while Lèwḍ may have been powerful enough to defeat the Demon Ogre itself, there is no chance that the current heroes could achieve such a feat. The king nods in agreement, acknowledging the difference in strength between eras. Since the holy-type hero is currently unable to fight, Isekai'd respectfully asks the king for permission to take responsibility for Hino. He explains that he has spent much of his own life bedridden due to illness and believes he can support her recovery, both physically and emotionally. Hearing this, the guards feel a sense of relief. Rogus, however, grows furious inside. He thinks of Isekai'd as a coward who abandoned his claim to the throne because of his weak body. Rogus clenches his fists and tells himself that power is the only thing that matters, and that he must prove his worth no matter the cost. He convinces himself that moving toward paradise is unavoidable if he wishes to secure his future and demonstrate his resolve. Even as the meeting continues, his mind is already set on action rather than caution. Meanwhile, far from the royal hall, Haruto stands quietly by the window of an inn, gazing toward paradise in silence.